What's going on, everybody? Ronnie DiMaggio here, product specialist at BMW of Morristown. And in today's video, we are going to be doing a walk around and overview with this 2023 BMW i4 eDrive40. So the i4 is BMW's all-electric Gran Coupe, or sedan, so to speak, and it comes in two different variants. So you have the i4 M50, which is the all-wheel drive performance model, and you have the eDrive40, which is what we're looking at here, which is the rear-wheel drive entry-level model of the i4. So both cars are pretty different as far as their powertrains, all-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive. You're talking about a 200 horsepower or so difference, but the i4 eDrive40 is the entry-level model. It's the one that we suspect the majority of i4 sales will be, and it's the car that we're going to be talking about here today. We're going to talk about the exterior styling, we'll talk about the powertrain, and we'll also take a seat in the interior to show you guys what it's like to actually be inside of an i4. So let's go ahead and start talking about the powertrain. Now, generally in our videos, this is when we'll open the hood and take a look at the engine. The i4 doesn't have an engine because it's electric, so not a ton to look at under here, but it's worth popping the hood just in case you're curious anyway. No front storage, but you do have this beautiful plastic cover. So 335 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque, which is good for 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds, which is pretty good for a relatively heavy car that's rear-wheel drive. 5.5 seconds is plenty quick. It gets up and goes. And being electric, you have that instant torque. There's no turbo lag. It's even more instantaneous than a naturally aspirated gas-powered engine. It is right there at the bottom of your foot whenever you want it. So that is the benefit of electric cars. So 335 horsepower in an electric car feels a lot more potent than 335 horsepower in a gas car. So that is the powertrain. While we're talking about that, it's important to talk a little bit about charging. So the minimum level 2, which is AC charge time, is 8.5 hours. The best you can do in DC fast charging is about 35 minutes from 10 to 80% battery, or 90 miles in 10 minutes. So if you're in a pinch and you just want to plug in really quick to get 90 miles of range, you can do that in 10 minutes, which is really impressive and practical and takes away some of that range anxiety that a lot of people have with electric cars. 10 minutes is like filling up with gas and going inside to get a coffee. You can get 90 miles of range. So it is usable for long trips. We've seen videos come out of people road tripping these cars, and it works. Might not quite be as easy as a gas-powered car to give you some actionable consumer advice. If you're driving across the country or even up and down the East Coast frequently, you're probably better off with a gas-powered car, or a 45E if you want to be more less gas-dependent and have the electric option. A 330E, 530E, X5, 45E might be the option, but the i4 is great if you're in the market for all-electric and you know it works for your lifestyle. Charging is pretty easy. But anyway, let's talk about some of the front-end styling. So first and foremost, you'll notice that this car is equipped with the M Sport package. When we get around to the back, we have a couple other i4s we can show you that don't have M Sport. But anyway, M Sport gives you these more aggressive openings in the grille as well as along the bottom side, in the bumper, I should say. So you have some nice design elements there on the sides. Now, obviously, there is no internal combustion under the hood, internal combustion engine under the hood to cool, or that needs air to be intaked because of, just the general nature of internal combustion. But they still have those pseudo vents there just to look cool, and they do look good. They add a nice bit of depth to the front end styling. Obviously, you have the really large kidney grille that is now a staple of M3, M4, and 4 Series models. Controversial when it came out for sure, but I think it's generally well liked now. At least it's starting to grow on some people. It's also a unique feature of the i4, where you can tell it apart from the front end from a regular 4 Series, is this top portion is solid, whereas on a regular 4 Series, the grille will look like an actual pass-through as opposed to solid. One other little thing about the i4 is the blue around the roundel. You'll notice that on all the roundels. That is a signature of BMW i models. i4, iX, i7, when that comes out, which we expect to see soon. So let's come around to the side of the car. We can take a look at these wheels, which are finished in a bicolor, and they're hiding a red M Sport brake caliper, which looks really nice. You can option that brake caliper in different colors if you would like. I believe they have blue as well as black available. but looks nice. And then you also have another little design element on the side here. You have that black side vent that we've seen on 4 Series models in the past that runs all the way down the side of the car and just adds a little bit of styling depth to the exterior of the car. As far as the side profile, this is a Gran Coupe, so you have a hatchback rather than a traditional sedan trunk. So it has that kind of slope back roofline, which looks really nice. And you also have a little bit more storage as a result of the Gran Coupe in the back. It's a little bit more practical, which is always a nice benefit. But let's come around to the back of the car, and while we walk, I should mention that this is finished in Brooklyn Gray, and actually right there's a good time to take a look at a non-M Sport car. We have a couple i4s in stock, some eDrive40s, an M50. Some are spoken for, some are not. So if you're interested in an i4, feel free to drop a comment down below or shoot us a DM on Instagram or give us a call. But anyway, it gives you an idea of the difference between M Sport and non-M Sport. But Brooklyn Gray here on this M Sport car, which looks really nice. Speaking of M Sport, the lower section of the bumper is a big change. So this whole anthracite colored dark gray finished piece down in the diffuser lower rear bumper area is a trademark of the M Sport equipped i4s. Looks really nice, adds a little bit of that M Sport flair that you might expect, and helps to distinguish the M Sport models from the non-M Sport models. You'll also notice this little body colored, non-body colored black spoiler on the back here, and of course the large roundel with that blue accent surrounding it, and the integrated backup camera, which I always thought was a neat trick that BMW did that. But anyway, that's going to do it for the exterior styling of the i4. Let's go ahead and pop the trunk and hop in the back seat, and we'll give you guys an idea what the practicality elements of the i4 are like. All right, so let's go ahead and pop the tailgate on the i4. So you can see that we have some all-weather floor mats as well as our fast charger back there. I'm going to go ahead and come around to fold up the rear seats. We'll at least give you guys an idea of what that looks like. Super easy and light, so you can just pop those up and fold up the rear seats. So that's what the cargo area looks like when the rear seats are folded. As you can see with the lift back design, you have plenty of space back here, and you can stack items a little bit higher than you might be able to in the sedan. Nice low load floor, and you do have additional storage underneath. Much of that is taken up by some Harmon Kardon sound system components, but you do have room for some trinkets or a mobility kit as we have here. And of course, the i4 does capitalize on the liftback design. It has this little cargo cover and just generally offers a little bit more cargo capacity than like a 3 Series sedan would be the most comparable thing. So great storage space in the back and super easy one-touch tailgate closing. Now let's come around to the side and take a look at the back seat space. So I have the front driver's seat in my driving position where I would sit as a driver. I'm about 5'9", and sitting behind myself, you can see I have plenty of room for my legs, my knees, multiple inches of knee room there, plenty of space to put my feet under the seat, and headroom. Often a problem in liftback cars or those kind of Gran Coupe type cars. I can sit totally upright and my head does not touch the ceiling. So perfect amount of headroom, knee room, and foot room. Overall, really spacious back seat for the design of the car. You have 2 USB-Cs, you do have climate control, and a fold-down center armrest with integrated cup holders as well. So the i4 does lend itself quite well to carrying for adults, or even 5 if you want to throw somebody in that middle seat for a quick trip. You can certainly do that. So back seat, trunk, very usable. Let's hop up front and take a look at the front passenger compartment. All right, so here we are inside of the i4 eDrive40. First thing you'll notice, this car has really nice Tacora Red Leather interior. It also has Harmon Kardon sound and the really nice dark wood trim. So a well-equipped and well-specced car. So kudos to whoever ends up with this one. But the big ticket item for the i4 is, of course, the iDrive8 display screen. At this point, it's not really new stuff anymore. We've covered it in a couple of videos. We did the M3 with iDrive8. We did the iX, the X7. As I said, we did the i4 M50 previously. So iDrive8's not quite as new as it used to be, but it's still worth talking about because it is going to find its way into most new BMW models at some point in the future. So we can start taking a look at the gauge cluster screen, which is configurable by pressing the small button with lines and dots on the steering wheel. You can configure your content in the center here, as you see, or we can go over to layout and actually configure the layout of the gauge cluster. And if we take a look at the heads-up display, you can toggle between the standard view, navigation view, you can do a sport view, and then you have a reduced view if you want less clutter in your heads-up display. As for the driver touch points and kind of the ergonomics of the car, the seating position is really good. Your chest is lined up perfectly with the center of that roundel, which is what you like in a BMW. And both arm rests are at the same height, which is always good. And the steering wheel is one of my favorites. It is BMW's kind of corporate steering wheel for M Sport equipped vehicles nowadays, for all those M Sport equipped G chassis cars, and it feels great, it looks great. You have this nice leather stitched airbag, and it's just generally a really well designed ergonomic steering wheel. The seats as well are super comfortable with a manually extendable thigh support, adjustable lumbar, and power, of course. So it's really easy to get comfortable in this car. You can sit nice and low if that's your preference, or you can bring the seat up nice and high if you like to have a little bit more commanding view. But the hood drops down nicely, and all the side windows have plenty of visibility, no major blind spots, which is always nice. Big complaint that many people have with these Gran Coupe liftback style cars is that rear visibility through the rear view mirror can be compromised. Not the case in the i4 here. The back glass is plenty big, and the rear headrests actually fold down, so you will never have problems seeing out of the back of the car. We talked a little bit about the gauge cluster. Let's go into the center screen, which is, of course, operated by touch, iDrive controller, or voice command. So you have 3 different ways to kind of configure the screen here. This is your home screen that you'll see every time you start up the car. It is configurable, so you can move these icons around if you would like. And then you have four main tabs over here on the left. You have your menu tab, which you can click on and scroll through all of your different vehicle apps and settings and things like that. Once you hook up to CarPlay, all your CarPlay apps will actually show in this menu, which is really nice. You have your music icon or entertainment, so you can go through your different audio sources. You can set up a favorites list through SiriusXM, or you can hook up your phone, of course, and stream music through your phone. You have the phone icon where you can connect your phone and then scroll through contacts, recent calls, things of that nature. And then, of course, you have navigations. In the i4, navigation is a bit more important to talk about because it's where you'll kind of get an idea of what charging will look like on a day-to-day basis. So let's go through that really quickly. Let's say that I'm here at 111 Ridgedale Ave now. I have 96% battery, so I don't actually need to charge, but let's say I do. Let's say I am on my way to, Florida, and I want to go on a nice long road trip, and I want to go somewhere in Florida. So let's say we go to, just type in a random address here in Florida. And what I'm going to do here is put the address into our navigation system. Excuse me, it looks like I spelled it wrong there. Put the address into our navigation system, and then from there show you guys how you can find different charging stations that are either at your destination, along the route to your destination, or at your current location. So you can see we are going to be going all the way down the East Coast there,
turn right and
all
immediately turn left.
the way down to Florida. And so let's say I want to explore charging options on this route. So I can click this little blue charge icon, which will be stationary on the navigation screen for all EV BMWs. You can click on that, and it's going to search for charging stops. Give it a quick second to load up. And once it does, you'll see that we have multiple options as far as where we want to be looking for charging stations. The options are along the route. So this is going to show us destinations for charging along the route somewhere between here and that destination in Florida. At the destination, so nearby. So if you're planning a trip and you are curious if there's charging at the destination, you can search for chargers there, or at your current location. So let's go with at destination. I want to see where there are charging stations near my destination, and here we go. So we're in the on the west coast of Florida here, and you can see I have charge stations all around here by my destination, so charging won't really be a problem. That just gives you guys hopefully a little idea of what it's like to search for charging stations. BMW makes it really easy with the built-in system. And I say the built-in system because it is important with the EVs to use the BMW navigation system, because when you input a charging destination or charging station as a destination in the navigation, the car will precondition the battery prior to your arrival to allow for the fastest charging time. So if you want to get that 90 miles in 10 minutes, you need to make sure that you put it in your navigation destination, because the car will optimize the battery for that charging stop before you arrive to make your charging experience a little bit quicker. So that is the charging. Hopefully that was a helpful little demonstration. But anyway, let's talk a little bit more about the interior. It is redesigned with iDrive 8. You lose the hard climate control buttons. Instead, those are all relegated here to the climate menu, which is super intuitive and easy to use. We get a lot of comments. Trust me, we read all the comments on our videos saying that the screen just kind of makes things more difficult. It really doesn't. The climate menu is always there, and these buttons are super easy to press. You can always change things really quickly and easily. The touchscreen is responsive, and once you get the muscle memory with the car, it's really easy to go through this stuff. You also always have the option of voice control, which can smooth things out for you as well. So give iDrive 8 a chance. If you think it's going to be troublesome for you, hop in a car with it and try it out and make the decision from there, because I really kind of was in the same camp. I didn't like the idea of getting rid of the climate menu buttons at first, but now that I've used the car, it kind of just works pretty seamlessly. There are some hard buttons still, so you have max front and rear max front and rear defrost, your hazard lights, skip track back and forth, and a hard volume knob. Thank goodness we didn't lose that. You also have your iDrive controller as a hard button with multiple shortcuts. You have your actual shift lever rather than the little shift switch. You have your e-brake, brake hold, sport mode, comfort and eco, start stop, and then your parking sensor as well as traction control buttons. So hard buttons are still available in the interior. Obviously, window switches, trunk release, things like that are all hard buttons as well. Let's mention storage space a little bit, only because it's actually pretty impressive in the i4. We can pop this open, and you can see we have a wireless charging tray as well as two pretty big cup holders. You have a nice big map pocket here with a huge bottle holder. You could definitely fit a large bottle in there. And, of course, you have a perfectly usable and spacious center console as well. So storage space is great in the i4 too. But that is going to do it for our little walk around of the interior of the i4. Overall, very comfortable, very easy place to spend time if you do a lot of driving. The interior of the i4 is definitely a nice place to be. So that'll do it for the inside. Let's hop outside and wrap up. All right, so that is going to do it for our walk around of the i4 eDrive40. Hope you guys enjoyed that little tour of the i4. Maybe gave you guys an idea of what it's like to check out this car in person. We do have a couple here at BMW Morristown. You might see these two behind me, this one, and we have an M50 in the showroom. So if you're interested in an i4, please give us a call at 973-455-0700. Visit us at 111 Ridgedale Ave, and please do follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at BMW of Morristown. But that's going to do it for this one. Sorry for the truck in the background, but that's going to do it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.